अवतार स्थान परिवार तारे कहे प्राकृत सत्वेर विकार. The Supreme Personality Godhead is full of spiritual potencies. Therefore, his body, name, aim, and entourage are all spiritual. The Mayavadi philosopher, due to ignorance, says that these are all merely transformations of the material mode of goodness. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Personal Godhead has classified his energies in two distinct divisions, namely Prakruta and Aprakrita, or Prakriti and Aparaprakriti. In the Vishnu Purana, the same distinction is made. Mayavadi philosophers cannot understand these two Prakritis or natures, material and spiritual. But one who is actually intelligent can understand them, considering the many varieties and activities in material nature. Why should the Mayavadi philosopher deny the spiritual varieties of the spiritual world? The Bhagavatam says, Jayonni Arabindakyo Vimuktamaninas Vayasta Bhavad Avisuddha Buddhaya. Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto. The intelligence of those who think themselves liberated but have no information, the spiritual world is not yet clear. In this verse, the term Avisuddha Buddhaya refers to unclean intelligence. Due to unclean intelligence or poor fund of knowledge, the Mayavadi philosophers cannot understand the distinction between material and spiritual varieties. Therefore, they cannot even think of spiritual varieties because they take it for granted that all variety is material. The Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore explained in this verse that Krishna, the Supreme Personality Godhead, or the Absolute Truth, has a spiritual body which is distinct from material bodies. And thus his name, abode, entourage, and qualities are all spiritual. The material mode of goodness has nothing to do with the spiritual varieties. Mayavadi philosophers, however, cannot clearly understand spiritual varieties. Therefore, they imagine a negation of the material world to the spiritual world. The material qualities of goodness, passion, and ignorance cannot act in the spiritual world, which is therefore called nirguna, as clearly indicated in Bhagavad Gita, Trigunya Vishaya Veda, Nistrigunya Bhavarjuna. The material world is a manifestation of the three modes of material nature, but one has to become free from these modes to come to the spiritual world, where their influence is completely absent. Now Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will dissociate Lord Shiva, disassociate Lord Shiva from Mayavad philosophy in the following verse. Chidananda Tehota Sthana Parivar Tahare Kohe Prakta Sattura Vikar. Here Mahaprabhu says in Kashi, before, the Mayavadi sannyasis headed by Prakashananda Saraswati, that the Supreme Personality Godhead is full of spiritual potencies. Therefore, his body, name, aim, and entourage are all spiritual. Mayavadi philosopher, due to ignorance, says that these are all merely transformations of material mode of goodness. Mahaprabhu clearly says this thing. Ishvara Paramakrishna Sachidananda Vigraha, Brahma Sangita says, Krishna is the Parameshwara, Supreme Controller. Bhagavan, Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the Bhagavan. And he has a form, he has a body, which is Satchit Anandamaya. Sarmaya, Chinmaya, Anandamaya. Full of eternity, full of knowledge, and full of pleasure. Satchit Anandamaya, spiritual body, transcendental body, not material body. Lord's body, Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna's body is not material. It's completely spiritual, transcendental. Later verses will come, where it will say, Prakrita Kriya Mane Vishnu Kalevara Vishnu Ninda Arnahya Rupar. One who considers the transcendental body of Lord Vishnu to be made of material nature is the greatest offender at the lotus feet of the Lord. There is no greater blasphemy against the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These Mayavadi philosophers, they say like that. The body of the Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna, is made up of material nature. So they are greatest offenders. The greatest offender. Great blasphemers. Aparadhi. Mayavadi, Krishna, aparadhi. Therefore Mahaprabhu says, they are great offenders. You understand? So one should not associate with them, should not hear their philosophy. Mayavadi Bhashya Sunila, hoy sarvanas. If someone will associate with Mayavadis, listen to their philosophy, he'll be doomed. He'll lose all his spiritual attainment. What he has attained. He'll lose everything. Don't. Give us caution not to associate. You understand? And all Vedic scriptures, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Vishnu Purana, etc., and all Vedic scriptures has been clearly stated that Supreme Personality Godhead has two types of energies, distinct divisions, that is, energies are divided in two distinct divisions, namely Prakruta, Paraprakriti, Paraprakriti. Paraprakriti is superior energy, or Paraprakriti is inferior energy or material energy. The spiritual world is the manifestation of Paraprakriti, superior energy. And the material world is the manifestation of Paraprakriti, inferior energy or material energy. In 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, we can see, it is said in the beginning that this material world is a upside down banyan tree. Prakrutam, aswastham, urdhamulam adhasakam, aswastham prahurabhyam. That is, urdhamulam adhasakam, aswastham prahurabhyam. This material world is an upside down, perverted banyan tree whose roots are upward, branches downward. Upside down tree, perverted tree, banyan tree. Is that any tree in reality? Is there any tree in reality? Such banyan tree, whose roots are upward and branches are downward.
When you see a tree reflected on water,
that's a reflection. That's the tree in reality. A real tree stands on the bank of the river or some water reservoir, and its reflection looks like that. The roots are upward, branches are downward. This is a reflection. It's not real tree. The reflection of the real tree. There's a reflection of the real tree. So this material world is the reflection of the real world. What is that real world? The spiritual world is the real world. And this material world, it's a reflection, perverted reflection. It's perverted reflection. Everything is perverted here. What is there? Everything is here, but it is perverted. Just opposite. In the spiritual world, there are spiritual varieties, whereas in material world, there are material varieties. Varieties are there. You understand? These varieties are there, but in the spiritual world, there are spiritual varieties. But here, in material world, there are material varieties. Because it's the perverted reflection. And this Mayavadi philosophers, they cannot understand this thing. They cannot understand this thing because of their impure intelligence, poor fund of knowledge. They cannot understand. How can one understand? The activities and the varieties in the spiritual world, which is completely spiritual, where there is no question of material mode of nature, no maya, no material nature. It's the manifestation of spiritual prakriti, paraprakriti. How can one understand who is under the clutches of material nature, free modes of material nature, Maya? How can you understand? If someone cannot free from this three modes of material nature, he cannot understand. He cannot understand. You have material body, you have material intelligence, material mind, material consciousness. Inferior consciousness, lower type of consciousness. How can you understand the varieties in material of spiritual world, activities of spiritual world? How can you understand with the material mind and material intelligence and material consciousness, low type of consciousness? Quite impossible. Unless one is endowed with pure intelligence and first level of consciousness that we say, Purna Vikachita Chetana, fully blossomed consciousness, spiritual consciousness. Unless one is endowed, how can you understand? How can one get such consciousness or such intelligence? How can one get such pure intelligence, pure consciousness? Then he can understand. How can one get it? Have it. How?
One get it by the mercy of Guru and Krishna.
Chidananda, how can one get? Huh?
Kripa.
Guru Krupa. Tesang sattva-chittanang bhadatam pritipurpakam dadami buddhi-yogam tamjena mangupajanti te. 10th chapter Bhagavad Gita says this thing. Don't you know it? Huh? You know? Tell in English. Tesang sattva-chittanang bhadatam pritipurpakam dadami buddhi-yogam tamjena mangupajanti te. Speak in English. Huh? You don't know. Why don't you read Bhagavad Gita? Huh? Primary study. So, how can you be admitted into the postgraduate class, this Chaitanya Charitamrita class, postgraduate class? Huh? Not fit for primary class. Pre-primary section. Degraded. Isn't it? Huh? Chaitanya Charitamrita class is postgraduate class. So, qualify yourself. Qualify yourself. You understand? Then you can understand. How can you understand? This thing. Huh? Tesang sattva-chittanang bhadatam pritipurpakam dadami buddhi-yogam tamjena mangupajanti. Krishna says, one who is constantly attached to me, constantly, without deviation. You understand? Constantly attached. Sattva-chittanang bhadatam pritipurpakam, doing my bhajan with pleasure, with love in his heart. I give them pure intelligence. You understand? The pure intelligence comes from the Supreme Lord Krishna. So how can you get it in material world? Unless you are constantly attached to Krishna and doing his bhajan with love in your heart under the guidance of the bona fide spiritual master, you cannot get that intelligence. That intelligence comes from Supreme Lord Krishna. He gives. Tesang eva anukampartham aham jnana jantama nasayami atmabhavasto jnanadipena vasvata. Next verse says. Next verse. In that 10th chapter. Do you know it?
Means Krishna destroys the ignorance in the heart with the torch lamp of knowledge.
Yeah. Tesang eva anukampartham, out of mercy, anukampa. Anukampa means mercy, one who is constantly attached to me and doing my bhajan with love under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. I give him pure intelligence, and out of mercy I dispel the ignorance in his heart and enkindle Gyan Deep, lamp of knowledge. Do you understand? I enkindle. Tesang anukampartham jnanadam nasayami atmabhavasto jnanadipena bhasuta. So, pure knowledge comes from Krishna. Pure intelligence comes from Krishna. But these Mahavad philosophers are devoid of pure knowledge and pure intelligence. Because they are not considered attached to Krishna. They are not doing Krishna bhajan. They are speculators. They are thinking Krishna, the Supreme Lord, as material body. For the offenders, how can they get such mercy? 10th canto Bhagavad says, Devanya Ravindakya Vimuktamana Yasta Bhava Abhisuddha Buddhaya. Abhisuddha Buddha, impure intelligence, unclean intelligence. They think themselves, this Mahavad, those who want, by their speculative process, they want to merge into the impersonal Brahman effulgence. You understand? Be one with the Lord. Such offenders. You understand? They have never taken shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. They have never surrendered souls. They have never do bhajan. So how can they get pure intelligence, pure consciousness, pure knowledge that comes from Krishna? Cannot get. So impure intelligence, so Abhisuddha Buddhaya, impure intelligence, unclean intelligence. This is the destination of this jnanis. They can go up to this Brahman effulgence, not beyond that. If you can ride on a train that goes to Calcutta, you must reach Calcutta. How can you reach Bombay? You understand? So Jnanajan, this train or vehicle of Jnana, only take you to Brahman effulgence, not beyond that. If you ride on the vehicle of karma, Jan, where can you go?
Heavenly planets.
Only to this heavenly planet. Swargalok, Swarlok. Gour, Bhuva, Swar. Only Swarlok. Up to Swarlok. Do you understand? You can go up to Swarlok, not beyond that. That is the destination. That vehicle goes, that train goes up to that. So these Mahavavis, they ride into that Jnana. Ride into that vehicle of Jnana. And that goes up to Brahman effulgence, not beyond that. Then that Jnana can return from there. Padanti adho, they fall down here again in this material world. Anadhata smatangrayo, because they have not taken shelter at your lotus feet, O Lord. They are great offenders. How can they get the pure intelligence and think of this spiritual variety in the spiritual world? You understand? So they cannot understand.
जय श्रीला प्रभुपाद जी महाराज जय सांबेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय गौर